So this video is for Saxon Course 2, Lesson 88, and it's written practice help. First problem you're going to work on is problem number 1. It says Janice earns $8 per hour at a part-time job. How much does she earn working 3 hours and 15 minutes? So we know she has $8 for 1 hour, but they want to know how much she's going to make in 3 hours and 15 minutes. And I think that's going to be a little tricky to do 3 hours and 15 minutes. So we have two choices. We can either change it all to minutes, or we could turn our 15 minutes into 1/4 of an hour, because if you look at the clock, 5, 10, 15 minutes is 1/4 of a circle. So we can write that as 3 hours and 25 hundredths. 3 and 25 hundredths, or 3 1/4 hours, and we don't know how much we're making. And so now if we cross multiply, and we're going to cross out our hours. And so we're going to do $8 times 3 1/4 hours. And that will tell us how much money she will make in 3 hours and 15 minutes. During a 10-day period, an athlete's average resting heart rate after exercising was 58. The athlete's average heart rate during the first 4 days was 61. What was the average heart rate during the last 6 days? So over 10 days, the average was 58. But the first 4 days, the average was 61. So what we're going to do is we're going to first find out how many heartbeats she had, or her average resting heart rate was, or the athlete's was, for 10 days. So we're going to do 58 times 10, which is going to give us 580. And then we're going to figure out how much it was in those first 4 days. So we're going to do 61 times 4. So for the first 10 days, it was 244. Now we're going to subtract, let me just write that so it looks the same. 4 days times 61 equals 244. And we're going to subtract those numbers to find out the total for the 6 days. 10 minus 4 is 6, 7 minus 4 is 3, 5 minus 2 is 3. So for 6 days, the average was 336. Now, excuse me, not the average, the total. So we're going to take 336, and it was for 6 days, and that number is going to be your average. And so you're going to write the average heart rate for 6 days was, and you're going to put your answer there. Use unit multipliers to perform each conversion. We have 4 yards squared to square feet. So we have 4 yards, and it's squared, so times yards. And we want to make it into square feet. And we know there's 3 feet in a yard. So we're going to do times 3 feet over a yard times 3 feet over a yard, which means we can cross off our yards. And so we end up with 4 times 3 times 3. And you're going to multiply that out. So 4 times 3 is 12, times 3 is 36. And then you're going to label it feet squared, because you have 2 of those feet. Then we're going to do 4 yards cubed. So we have 4 yards, and we're going to do it 3 times this time. and we're going to take it to cubic feet, so we have to do 3, whoops, I only did 2. So same kind of thing, except this time we have it 3. And then we're going to cancel and multiply, and this time you're going to have feet cubed for your answer. Number 4, use a ratio box to solve the problem. So I want a ratio box. The ratio of woodwinds to brass instruments. So we have woodwinds and we have brass instruments. In the orchestra was 3 to 2. If there were 15 woodwinds, how many brass instruments were there? So we're going to do ratio and actual count, and we're comparing woodwinds to brass instruments. And the ratio of woodwinds to brass was 3 to 2. And the actual count of woodwinds was 15. And we're trying to figure out the actual count for brass. So that's going to be, I'm going to do B for brass. So you're going to write, your proportion and solve. And when you get your answer, you're going to write that down. On a number line, graph the counting numbers that are less than 4. So we want counting numbers. These are the numbers that we count. It does not include 0, and there are less than 4. All right, so and we want the ones that are less than 4, and they're counting numbers, so only the numbers that we count. So 1, 2, and 3. And we're just going to put a dot because we just want counting numbers. And again, remember, counting numbers do not include 0. It says use a ratio box to solve this problem. Oranges were on sale, 8 for $3. At that price, how much will 3 dozen oranges cost? So this is a case 1 to case 2 problem, because notice where it's oranges to oranges. So we have the quantity, that's how many, and we have the cost. So they're on sale for 8 for $3, and they want to know how many for 3 dozen. Well, 3 dozen is 3 times 12, right? Because there's 12 in a dozen. So 3 times 12 is 36, and we want to know how much it's going to cost. We're going to set up a proportion and solve. All right, it says diagram this statement. That means you have to draw a diagram. It says then answer the questions that followed. When Sandra walked through the house, she saw that 18 lights were on and 1/3 of the lights were off. So it looks like we're going to separate our diagram into thirds. So we need 3 boxes. And 18 were on and 1/3 off. Well, if 1/3 was off, that means 2/3 were on. And that's 18. So 18 divided by that 2, we're going to put 9 in the box because 9 plus 9 is 18. And we put the same number in every box, so we have 9. And so we answer the question, how many lights were off? Hint, it's the number in the box. And what percent of the lights were on? So that one we're going to change 2/3 to a percent. So if you don't know what that is, because you didn't memorize it, you can go ahead and solve by doing 2 divided by 3. And if you do know what it is, then you are just going to write the answer. Evaluate. we're going to replace all the A's with 5 and all the B's with 3. So I have an A here and an A here and a B here and a B here. So A is 5 minus B, which is 3, minus A, which is 5, minus B, which is 3, and that's going to solve it. So we're going to start inside our parentheses, and we have parentheses inside of parentheses. We're going to start with 5 minus 3. So we're going to rewrite our problem 5 minus 3 minus 5 minus 3, which is 2, and close our parentheses. And then we have 5 minus, and we have to do 3 minus 2 first, which is 1, and then you're going to write your final answer. To make a large circle on the field, Nathan tied a 30-foot rope to a pole. Then he walked around the stake with the rope extended as he scraped the ground with another stake. So basically he just made a great big giant circle. They want to know the circumference and the area, and what measure of the circle does the rope represent. So he put a pole in the ground, and then he grabbed the end of a rope, and then he walked around with that rope and made a big circle. Okay? And that rope was 30 feet. So the first question, they want to find the circumference. Remember, circumference is pi times, good, diameter. So we really need this part to know the diameter. So make sure that you remember to write down what the diameter is. And then they want us to use 3.14 for pi. So C equals 3.14 times your diameter, whatever you found for your diameter. And then when you write your answer, make sure you write your answer, and then you're going to write feet. So that's your circumference. Okay, so make sure you pause it and finish that problem. And then you're going to find the area. For area, what's your formula for area? Excellent. Pi r squared. So our r is that half, basically the rope, right? So that's our radius. So we're going to write A equals 3.14 times our radius, which is, good, times our radius, which is, excellent. Then you're going to multiply all that out, and you're going to write your answer, and you're going to write feet squared. All right, pause the video and finish that. Excellent. And then last but not least, it says, what measure of a circle does the rope represent? They want to know the vocabulary word. What was the vocabulary word for this 30 feet right here that was represented by that rope? What was the vocabulary word? All right, collect like terms. So in 13, you're going to collect x's, y's, and then just plain numbers. So we have an x's here and another x there. We have y's, and then we have this number and this number. Oops, I didn't want to do a different color. All right, so we have 2x plus x plus 3y minus y minus 5 minus 1. Now remember, we have implied numbers here. We have an implied 1 here and an implied 1 here. So we have 2x plus 1x. So you're going to add that, and you're going to tell me how many x's. Then you have 3y minus 1y. So you're going to subtract that, and you're going to tell me how many y's. And then you're going to add -5 and -1, and you're going to tell me what answer you get. Wow, that was long. For that. And then you should have an equation where you have collected the like terms. Go ahead and finish that problem. Pause the video. For 14, you're going to collect, you have x squared all by itself, then you have x, and then you have a 2. So x squared is just going to stay by itself because you don't have any other x squared. You cannot combine just a plain x with an x squared when you're adding and subtracting, so don't even try. And then you have 2x minus x, and then you have a negative 2. So you're going to just write x squared again, and then you're going to tell me how many x's you have. So 2x minus, don't forget your implied 1, minus 1x, and then you just need to write your negative 2 again. And you're going to go ahead and pause the video and finish that one. Use ratio boxes to solve, and we're just doing problem 17. The regular price of a shirt is $24. So regular price, $24. The sales price is $18. The sale price is what percent? Oh, we got percent of the regular price. So we need a percent in this one. So we're going to do percent and actual count. And we're comparing regular price to sale price. Now regular price is always your 100% because that's how much you would pay if you had to pay the whole price, 100%. So the regular price of a shirt is $24 and the sale price is $18. And they want to know what percent is the sale price of the regular price. So that's going to be your variable. Go ahead and set up a proportion and complete. Classify this quadrilateral. Well, I'm looking at this quadrilateral, and at first glance I thought it was a triangle, and then I look closer, and it is a quadrilateral. What is the name of this shape? I'm not going to tell you. That's the answer to A. You should know the name. If you don't, check your notes. B, find the perimeter. Well, we know how to find perimeter too. We just add up all the sides around because perimeter is the distance around a shape. Last but not least, we need to find the area. Okay, so the area of this shape, this should help you, is 1/2 of base 1 plus base 2 times the height. And we got to remember that the height is where your perpendicular line is. Base 1, I usually choose the one on the bottom. Base 2, I usually choose the one on the top. All right, so go ahead and find its area. Remember that we're dealing with millimeters and area is always squared. Number 21. Find the missing numbers in the table by using the function rule. Then graph the xy pairs and a line through those points that shows all xy pairs that satisfy the equation. Select the xy pair where the line crosses. So we're going to figure out this function table, and then we're going to draw it. All right, so I'm just going to take a minute and move this over. And now I'm going to do y equals x, which is, the first one is 3, right? So x minus 5. So y is 3 minus 5. So you're going to write the answer right there. And then the next one, we're going to do 7 minus 5 and write the answer. And the last one, we're going to do 5 minus 5 and write the answer. Okay, once you've found all of your points, you're going to graph them on your paper. And I want to see that you can graph. Now make sure that you do what they said, because they said you're going, after you're done graphing it, you need to select the xy pair where the line crosses the y-axis. So we're looking for where it hits that y-axis. And remember, the y-axis is this one. This is the y-axis, the one that goes from top to bottom. And then check with your function table, make sure it works. Multiply. Write each product in scientific notation. Okay, so remember when we write these, we're going to rewrite our whole numbers together and then our tens with the exponents together. So the first one, you're going to write 9 times 4 times 10 to the power negative 6 times 10 to the power negative 8. Then you're going to multiply the blue ones, and then you're going to keep the 10 and multiply the yellow ones. You're going to do the same thing for B, except you're going to use a positive 6 and 8. For problems 23 and 24, solve and check the equation below, or check the equations, show each step. So we have 8 and 5/6 equals D minus 5.5. So I need to get rid of the 5.5 next to the D, right? And I'm going to do that by doing the opposite of subtract. We're going to add 5.5, and what we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So we're going to end up plus 5.5. Well, I'm just going to take a minute and erase this because I can remember that I've got D equals. And I need to take a minute and find a common denominator, which is going to be 6. And then after I've done that, then I can find out what D equals. Go ahead and finish that problem. Pause your video. All right, and let's do number 24. So you got 5/6 M equals 90. Again, we want to isolate the variable, so we have to figure out what we're going to do. Now, think about it. Do we really want to divide by 5/6? No. Good. We want to multiply by the, excellent, the reciprocal. So we're going to multiply times 6/5. We're going to do both sides times 6/5. Because when we do that, that cancels that out and leaves M by itself. And you're going to go ahead and multiply and find your final answer. So make sure you pause the video and finish. Oh my goodness, look at all the parentheses and inclusion symbols, and whew, we're going to start in the very depth of this. And I'm going to take a minute, make this a little bit bigger. All right. So I'm going to start right here with 3 minus 1. So I'm going to rewrite the entire thing times 4 minus 3. And then I have 6 minus, and I have to do 3 minus 1, which is 2. And then put that inside. So now I'm going to do this right here, 6 minus 2, because it's parentheses within parentheses. So I'm going to do 6 times 5 times 4 minus 3 times 6 minus 2, which is 4. Put this in here. So now I'm going to look, I'm looking inside this whole section here, and I've got 5 times 4, and I have 3 times 4. So I'm going to rewrite this as 6, and I'm going to change my parentheses to this because it's easier to see. 5 times 4 is 20 minus 3 times 4, which is 12. Now, again, we're going to do what's inside the parentheses first. So we're going to do this first, and then that answer you're going to multiply times 6. So you're going to end up with 6 times that answer to the orange, and then that, when you multiply those, that'll give you your final answer. All right, so this one's lots of positive and negative numbers. So we're going to rewrite it down here. Negative 3 times negative 4 minus negative 3. So we're going to start with that. We're going to do negative 3 times negative 4 is a positive 12, and then we have minus negative 3. And then let's write our denominator. So now we have negative 3 minus positive 4 times positive 3. So we're going to do negative 3 minus positive 4 times positive 3 is positive 12. So now I have this problem. And hopefully you wrote all that down. I'm going to erase it so you can just see what we have left. And I'm going to write it over here so it's easier to see. It gives me a little bit of room to work. And so now I have 12 minus negative 3 over negative 3 minus positive 12. Now I don't want to subtract, I want to add. So I'm going to change this to addition and this to a positive because that's the opposite. Change this one to addition and change this to a negative. Again, the opposite. Go ahead and finish solving. Make sure you reduce your fraction. I forgot one, didn't I? All right, let's look at, take a minute, solve that, pause everything. And let's do the second one. So we have positive 5 plus negative 2 times positive 3 minus negative 4. And we got to do our parentheses within the parentheses, so we're going to do positive 3 minus negative 4 first. And I want to change this to addition, so really I have positive 3 plus positive 4. So I've got positive 5 plus negative 2 times positive 3 plus positive 4, which is positive 7. And I don't need this extra one right here. I can just do like this. Now, do I do addition or do I do multiplication first? Excellent, I do multiplication first. So I'm going to leave my positive 5, and I'm going to add that to negative 2 times positive 7. Negative times a positive is a negative. So that's going to give me negative 14. So I'm doing positive 5 plus negative 14, and then you're going to find the final answer, and go ahead and pause the video and do that. All right, this one is multiplying when we have those variables. So the first problem is negative 2x times negative 3x. And what we're going to do is we're going to do negative 2 times negative 3 times x times x. So we separate out those x's. Negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6, and we have two x's, so we're going to write x squared. So that's how to solve that one. I'm not going to go do the whole thing for the next one. All right. So remember, when multiplying and dividing with variables, you can combine them even if they have an exponent with them. So we have a, and then we have, actually we're not doing 2, we can't do the number, a squared and then a. Then we have the 2 and the negative 3, and then we have a b here and a b here. So we're going to do 2 times negative 3, and then we're going to do a times a squared times a times b times b. So 2 times negative 3, and then you're going to count how many a's you have and how many b's you have, and that's going to give you your final answer. Go ahead and stop the video, and let me just help you with a little bit of color coding. So those are the ones you combine, and you're going to find your final answer. All right. Last but not least, we have C. Remember, when we have, we're going to square the variable inside of a parenthesis, we're going to do negative 3x times negative 3x. So we're going to combine our numbers, then our letters. So we're going to do negative 3 times negative 3, and then x times x to find our final answer. All right, so that's today's written practice. I hope this helped. If you have any questions, don't forget to ask.